Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving headfirst into a pretty crucial sector today.
hmm
It's all about rare earths, like the global market,
Yep.
where it stands in 2025,
Right.
and where it's heading.
That's right.
We've got this detailed market research report.
hmm
It's called The Global Rare Earths Market Size Will Be USD 100 and 280 million in 2025.
Okay. Yeah.
Our mission today is to really pull out like the most significant insights to
Mm.
give you a clear understanding of this sector.
Right.
Where things stand now and where they might be going.
Absolutely.
There are actually some pretty surprising growth predictions in here.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to dig into the key forces driving them.
Definitely.
So the report sets the scene
Uh-huh.
by pegging the market size in 2025 at a very substantial USD of 14.28 billion.
That's right.
And it provides some really useful context by
Ooh.
looking back at the years 2021 to 2024.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes all the way up to 2033 with its forecasts.
Yeah. For
Uh,
a very comprehensive picture.
It is a really comprehensive picture.
Absolutely.
And one of the first things that really jumps out
Yeah.
is the anticipated growth.
Oh,
It's not just some like gentle upward trend.
no.
We're talking a surge. By 2033, the market is predicted to be worth over USD 26 billion.
Wow.
So what's the engine behind this pretty dramatic expansion?
Well, the report points to a couple of things.
Yeah.
Primarily, the increasing global need for energy efficiency and renewable resources.
Okay.
And think about it. The worldwide shift
Yep.
towards those cleaner energy solutions
Yeah.
and the push for more efficient technologies.
Yeah.
They all rely on materials with very specific properties.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of those are rare earth elements.
Right.
So this shifts is really the foundation of that 7.80% CAGR
Yeah.
projected from 2025 to 2033.
So basically a really rapid acceleration of market growth.
Yes, exactly.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Renewables and efficiency are global priorities right now. So let's look at how different parts of the world are expected to perform.
Okay,
North America, if I'm not mistaken, currently holds the largest share.
you are correct.
Okay.
In 2025, North America
Mm-hmm.
is projected to account for more than 40% of the global market.
Wow.
That translates to a market size of USD 5.28 billion.
Okay.
And while it's currently in the lead,
Mm-hmm.
its projected growth rate,
Yeah.
a KGR of 6.3%,
Okay.
is a bit more moderate than some other regions.
Interesting. Yeah.
We'll get to those a little later.
Okay, so within North America, is it fair to say that the United States is the dominant force?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yep.
The U.S. market alone
Yeah.
is estimated at USD 4.17 billion in 2025,
Wow.
with a projected KGR of 6.1%.
Okay.
Now, Canada comes next
Yeah.
at USD 634 million
Mm-hmm.
and a slightly higher KGR of 7.1%.
Okay.
And then there's Mexico
Yeah.
with a USD 480 million market and a 6.8% CAGR.
Oh.
What I found particularly interesting here is the report's emphasis on the efforts in North America,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the U.S.,
Yeah.
to increase their own manufacturing capabilities.
Yeah.
In this sector,
Mm.
they want to rely less on imports.
Right.
And this growth is also tied to the increasing use of renewable energy sources,
Uh-huh.
particularly wind turbines,
Yeah.
which use a lot of rare earth elements in their construction.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating to see that push for self-reliance
Yeah.
reflected in those figures.
Uh-huh.
So let's shift gears a bit. What about Europe? It sounds like they're a significant player as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Europe is a major player.
Yeah?
It makes up over 30% of the global rare earths revenue.
Wow.
In 2025, that's a market size of USD 4.14 billion,
Okay.
and they've got a solid projected GAGR of 6.8%.
Gotcha.
What I found particularly notable about Europe
Mm-hmm.
is the sheer variety of applications they have for rare earths.
Uh.
They're used in everything from magnets and metalworking to catalysts
Mm-hmm. For
Glass
Mm-hmm.
and ceramics.
Wow. A wide range.
It really is.
Okay. And are there any particular countries within Europe
Yeah.
that are driving a lot of this growth?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
The UK, for example, is
Mhm.
projected to have a market of USD 695 million
Okay.
and a KGR of 7.6%.
Okay.
And a lot of that is driven by their focus on innovative technology.
Oh, gotcha.
Then there's Germany,
Yeah.
which has a substantial market, USD 820 million,
Wow.
and a 7% CAGR.
Okay.
And one reason for that is they've got some major players
Right.
in the rare earths market, actually located within the country.
Okay, so a lot of activity in
A
Germany.
lot of activity.
Okay.
Then you've got France,
Yeah.
Italy, Russia, and Spain.
Okay.
They represent significant markets as well,
Mm.
each with growth rates hovering around 6%.
Okay.
It's interesting, the report also dives into some of the smaller European markets,
Oh, okay.
places like Sweden,
Yeah.
Denmark,
Okay.
Switzerland, and even Luxembourg. They're all showing robust growth, too.
Wow.
This really highlights how widespread the demand is for rare earths across all kinds of industries in Europe.
Yeah, it really underscores that broad demand across the entire continent.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's shift our focus now
Yeah.
to the Asia-Pacific region.
Uh-huh.
This is a region that's often talked about
Yeah,
as having huge growth potential across lots of sectors.
that's right.
What does this report tell us about APAC's role in the rare earths market?
Well, as you said, APAC is a region to watch.
Yeah.
It currently holds about 23% of the global revenue,
Okay.
with a market size of USD 3.43 billion in 2025.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's projected to have the highest AGR of all the regions we've discussed,
Wow.
a really strong 10.5%.
That's a very significant growth rate.
Oh, it is.
Okay, and what's driving that kind of rapid expansion?
Well, a few things, really.
Yeah.
First, there's the ongoing development and industrialization happening across the whole region. That's a huge factor.
Yeah.
Then there's the presence of these major consumer electronics manufacturers.
Right.
They're really driving demand.
Uh-huh.
And finally, there's a big push for construction and industrial projects.
Right.
All of that contributes to that growth.
Yeah.
So you've got these multiple factors all working together.
Okay, so within APAC,
Yeah.
which countries are really leading the charge?
Well, China, no surprise there,
Right.
has the biggest market in the region,
Yeah.
USD 1.44 billion,
Wow.
with a 10% OEAGR.
Okay.
But there are a lot of other countries showing impressive growth as well.
Huh.
India, for instance,
Yeah.
has a projected CAGR of 12.4% on a market size of USD 343 million.
Okay.
And then you've got Japan and South Korea.
Yeah.
They have substantial markets too,
Mm-hmm.
and growth rates of around 9%.
Okay.
But it's not just them. Even Australia, Singapore, Taiwan,
Mm-hmm.
and Southeast Asia as a whole
Yeah.
are all contributing with KGRs in the double digits.
Wow.
It paints a picture of just widespread and really rapid expansion
Yeah, it really does.
across the entire region.
A very dynamic region indeed.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about South America?
So South America
Yeah.
accounts for a bit over 5% of the global rare earths revenue in 2025.
Okay.
Their market size is USD 543 million,
Okay.
and they've got a solid KDR of 8.5%.
Gotcha.
Now, the report attributes this growth to a few key factors. One is their expanding economies.
Okay. Yeah.
More financial resources are becoming available.
Yeah.
And there's a noticeable rise in manufacturing
Yeah.
in sectors like electronics,
Mm-hmm.
wind turbines, and automobiles.
Right.
All of that contributes.
Okay. And within South America, are there any particular countries that stand out?
Yeah, there are a few.
Okay.
Brazil
Mm-hmm.
is a significant player
Yeah.
with a USD 232 million market and a 9.1% CAGR.
Okay.
And you've got Argentina and Colombia,
Yeah.
both showing strong potential
Uh-huh.
with KDRs over 8%. Peru and Chile have smaller markets,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still growing.
Okay.
The overall trend really points to increasing activity
Yeah.
in rare earths
Yeah.
as South America's industrial base continues to develop.
Okay. Moving on to the Middle East.
Oh.
It's a smaller part of the market at the moment.
Yeah.
But what's the outlook there?
So the Middle East currently holds about 2% of the global revenue,
Okay.
with a market size of USD 571 million in 2025.
Okay.
And they're projected to have a KGR of 9.1%.
Gotcha.
The report highlights a couple interesting things.
Yeah.
First, there's growing investment in the medical field,
Okay.
and then there's a rising demand from the ceramics industry.
Interesting.
Both of those are contributing to growth.
Uh-huh.
But on top of that,
Yeah.
there's a growing emphasis on green technologies in the region.
Uh-huh.
And that's also expected to drive demand for rare earth minerals.
Right. It all ties together.
Yeah, does.
Okay, so are there any specific countries in the Middle East that are really standing out?
Yeah, there are a few key players.
Okay.
Saudi Arabia, for example,
Mhm.
has the largest market in the region,
Okay.
USD 201 million,
Okay.
and a 9.4% CAGR.
Gotcha.
The UAE and Turkey also have strong growth rates,
Yeah.
somewhere around 9.6% and 9.7%.
Okay.
Qatar and Egypt have smaller markets,
Uh-huh.
but they're still expanding.
Okay, so it seems like a region with a lot of potential.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, finally, let's talk about Africa.
Right.
Currently the smallest share of the global market.
Yeah.
What are the growth expectations for the continent?
So Africa currently accounts for around 1% of global revenue.
Okay.
Their market size is about USD 314 million in 2025.
Gotcha.
And they have a CGR of 8.1%.
Okay.
Now, the report really emphasizes the potential for growth here.
Yeah.
And points to a few key drivers.
Uh-huh.
One is improving infrastructure.
Right.
They also have very significant mineral reserves.
Okay.
And there are government initiatives in place,
Uh-huh.
particularly focused on wind turbine installations.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So a lot of activity in that area.
There is.
Okay.
But of course, the global demand for these minerals
Yeah.
is a major factor as well.
Absolutely. Okay, and which countries in Africa should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, South Africa is a key player
Yeah.
with the USD 111 million market and a 9% CAGR.
Okay.
And Nigeria also shows a lot of promise.
Gotcha.
But what's really interesting is this broader rest of Africa segment,
Yeah.
which suggests there's considerable potential across the continent.
Huh?
The idea is, as infrastructure develops
Yeah.
and resource extraction increases,
Mm.
Africa take on a much bigger role
Okay.
in the global rare earths market.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating to see these different growth patterns
Yeah.
across all these regions.
Yeah, it is.
So let's dig a little deeper now
Okay.
into the specific segments within the rare earth market.
Right.
I think the report breaks this down by
Big.
type of rare earth
Uh-huh.
and its application, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so looking at the type segment,
Mm-hmm.
neodymium is predicted to stay on top, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and what's the reason for that?
Well, it's largely because the strength of neodymium magnets.
Okay.
They're essential in modern vehicles,
Yeah.
aircraft,
Yeah.
and all sorts of consumer electronics.
Oh.
Everything from computer hard drives to headphones.
Oh, wow.
And then there's the growing adoption of renewable energy technologies,
Right.
especially in electric vehicles and wind turbines.
Yeah.
Neodymium oxide is really sought after because of its superior magnetic properties.
Okay.
It helps to make those motors and generators much more efficient and powerful.
So neodymium is kind of the workhorse right now.
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, what about the fastest growing segment in terms of the type of rare earth?
Well, that would be gadolinium.
Okay.
Gadolinium.
Gotcha.
And its rapid growth
Yeah.
is linked to the increasing demand for it in nuclear power plants.
Oh, okay.
It acts as a neutron absorber, which helps control the nuclear reaction.
Okay.
But gadolinium is also used in magnets,
Mm-hmm.
data storage devices, and some electrical components.
So a lot of different uses.
Yeah, a lot of applications,
Right.
which is driving that faster growth.
It's interesting how the energy sector plays a role in both the largest and the fastest growing segments by type.
Yeah, it's a really key factor.
Okay, let's move on now to the application side.
Right.
Which segment holds the largest market share currently?
According to the report, it's the phosphorus segment.
Okay.
Now, phosphors are materials that emit light when energy is applied to them,
Gotcha.
and they're crucial in those older CRT screens.
Oh, okay.
Those bulkier TV and computer monitors.
Yeah, yeah.
They're also in fluorescent lighting.
Okay.
And the thing is,
Yeah.
government initiatives
Mm-hmm.
promoting those energy-efficient lighting solutions
Right.
are actually expected to boost this market even further,
Okay.
at least in the short term, as that existing infrastructure adapts.
Interesting. So what about the application segment that's growing the fastest?
Well, that would have to be the magnets segment.
Okay.
And this actually ties back to what we were talking about earlier with neodymium.
Yeah. Okay.
So the rising demand for these strong, durable magnets
Mhm.
across all kinds of industries,
Yeah.
like consumer electronics, clean energy, and automotive manufacturing,
Okay.
especially in electric vehicles.
Yeah.
All of this is fueling the growth.
Uh-huh.
Neodymium magnets in particular.
Yeah.
They're really vital in things like electric vehicle batteries,
Okay.
wind turbine generators,
Mm-hmm.
and even medical imaging equipment like MRI machines.
Wow.
Basically, the growth in this segment
Yeah.
is a direct result of this global push towards electrification and renewable energy.
I see. The connection between neodymium as a type and magnets as an application is really strong.
It is, yeah.
Now, the report also points to glass
Uh-huh.
as a fast-growing area of application.
Right.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the report specifically says that glass is the fastest growing segment of the rare earths industry.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't go into a ton of detail.
Yeah.
It does suggest that there's a significant increase in the use of rare earths in the glass sector.
Okay.
It could be because of their unique properties when added to glass.
Yeah.
Things like increasing strength,
Okay.
changing the color, or providing specific optical characteristics, that might be useful in things like high-performance lenses or displays.
Okay, so definitely an area to watch as technology evolves.
Sure.
Now, I'd love to get into the broader market dynamics, the factors that are influencing the growth, and some of the challenges in this market.
Absolutely.
So in terms of drivers, we've already talked about the rise of electric vehicles and all the technological development happening across different sectors.
Yeah.
But the report also mentions something kind of interesting.
What's that?
It talks about the growing coffee tradition around the globe.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, coffee. It's not what you'd immediately think of
No, not right.
as a driver for rare earths.
Not at first glance, no.
So how does that work?
Well, the report doesn't go into a lot of detail.
Okay.
But we can kind of infer a connection.
Okay.
If you think about the broader trend of increased demand for sophisticated consumer electronics and appliances.
Yeah. Okay.
Think about those high-end coffee machines.
Yeah.
The ones with all the electronic controls, or maybe even specialized coffee grinders.
Okay.
That might use precision motors with rare earth magnets for better durability and performance.
Gotcha.
It's really about how consumers are increasingly looking for those advanced features and better efficiency in their everyday appliances.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that indirectly drives demand for the components that make those things possible.
Okay, so kind of roundabout connection, but still interesting.
Definitely.
Okay, what about the restraints?
What's holding back market growth?
The report points to two big things.
Okay.
The first is price instability with raw materials.
Right.
And the second is those negative environmental impacts of rare earth extraction and processing.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It really is.
And are these things the industry is trying to address?
Oh, they have to.
Okay.
They're critical challenges for long-term sustainable growth. You see price volatility. It makes it hard to plan for both investment and production.
Right.
And then those environmental concerns. They're really pushing the need to develop and use more responsible and sustainable extraction and refining methods.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sustainability and ethical sourcing are so crucial now for both consumers and industries.
Absolutely.
Okay, lastly, let's talk about the competitive landscape.
Okay.
Who are the major players in this market?
So the report lists several key competitors.
You've got Lynas Rare Earths, Ltd.
Okay.
Australian Strategic Materials, Ltd.
Gotcha.
Or Fura Rare Earths, MP Materials.
Okay.
And Shenghe Resources Hoarding Co.
Okay.
And it also mentions that there's more detail on these companies within the report.
Oh, okay.
Like their backgrounds, financial performance, R&D investments, and recent product introductions.
Okay. All within the context of the rare earth sector.
Right, exactly.
Are there any recent developments or activities that stand out?
Yeah, there are a couple of noteworthy ones.
Okay.
In December 2024, Australian Strategic Materials announced this Digital Australian Critical Minerals Prospectus.
Okay.
It's aimed at fostering collaborations globally.
Interesting.
Then, in January 2025, Sumitomo Corporation and MP Materials made a deal to strengthen the rare earth supply chain in Japan.
Okay.
Sumitomo is going to become the exclusive supplier of MP Materials neodymium praseodymium oxide to Japanese customers.
Okay, and
These are all efforts
yeah.
to secure and diversify the supply of these crucial materials.
Okay, so let's sum it all up.
All right.
What are the key takeaways from this deep dive into the global rare earth market in 2025?
Well, the big picture is one of significant growth, fueled by the increasing global demand for clean energy and efficient technologies. The global market is projected to expand from USD 14.28 billion in 2025 to over USD 26 billion by 2033.
So a big jump.
A huge jump.
Okay.
Now, North America is currently the leader, but the Asia-Pacific region is expected to see the most rapid growth.
Okay.
And when it comes to the rare earth elements themselves, neodymium is really the dominant one because of its use in high-performance magnets. which means that the magnet segment is the fastest growing application area.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to note that rare earths are increasingly being used in glass.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Which could be a rapidly expanding area of application. Now, the main drivers for all of this are things like the adoption of electric vehicles and the growth of renewable energy infrastructure. But there are challenges too.
Okay.
Like price volatility and those environmental concerns.
Yeah, those are big ones.
They're definitely things the industry needs to tackle.
So for you, our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you a really good understanding of this crucial and evolving global market.
Absolutely.
Rare earth elements are everywhere.
Yeah, they are.
From our smartphones to wind turbines,
right.
they're essential. And understanding these market trends can really give you a clearer picture of the future of technology, energy production, and global commerce in general.
Absolutely.
And it kind of raises an interesting question, doesn't it?
It does.
With this growing global demand and all the challenges around extracting rare earths, what innovative solutions or alternative materials might emerge to reshape this market in the long term?
It's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And one that we'll all be watching closely.
Definitely.
It's a dynamic space, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Full of potential for future innovation and development.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
Into the world of rare earths.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.